Today's manhwa begins with us being shown the hidden heavenly kingdom, or dongua palace. We can already hear the voices of people who noticed a certain Sister Lu and are very happy about it. We see how a joyful crowd runs to meet this girl. From what they say, you can understand how each of them wants to go on a date with her, ahead of their competitors. We are shown Sister Lu Wuming herself, who is a student of Donghua Palace. A crowd of fans has already surrounded her and is trying to attract attention by calling her name. A man from the crowd approaches her and invites her to meet tonight, but before he even has time to finish his sentence, he is refused by his sister, because in her opinion, he is not suitable for her. Afterwards, another guy approached her, inviting her to meet in the evening so that she could teach him several techniques. She was surprised that an older student was approaching her for advice, and also refused him. After refusing the first two losers, a handsome green-haired guy with flowers approached her and said that he had mastered a worthy cultivation method. At that moment, she interrupted him and said that she could visit him. A dissatisfied crowd attacked that handsome guy in the background because they didn't like the fact that Lu Wuming gave her consent to him and not to him, and her sister was unhappy that she came across only freaks, beggars, and stupid people. Later in the meantime, Sister Lu sees a crowd of joyful girls who notice Big Brother and are about to run towards him, as well as a crowd of guys behind Sister. We are shown Meng Tian-an, who is the main character. Girls surrounded him and admire his beauty. Also trying to attract his attention, his sister also noticed him and planned something. He lightly touches the shoulder of one girl from the crowd with his hand and pushes her aside because he needs to pass. She really liked it, which makes other girls jealous and want to be in her place. The eldest sister understands that Meng Tian-an stands out among the rest of the students of Donghua Palace, and given his noble origin, as well as his talent, he has the best chance of achieving immortality. The girl, thinking about his beauty, comes up to him, hugging him from behind, and calls him to meet her tonight. The main character realizes that all his mewing activities were not in vain, because many girls are running after him. She asks to give her some instructions, because lately she has been having various problems during practice. The red-eyed man did not like the impudence of the older sister, and he is going to take action. The beauty still didn't want to let him go, which is why this Sigma, saying that she is preventing him from passing, simply takes and pushes her away, causing Lu Wuming to fly off, and the crowd is shocked by all this. As he leaves, he asks those who are obsessed with him to stay away from him. Sister has no choice but to lie on the ground and watch the trail of the departing protagonist. While the blue-eyed girl gets up from the ground, a crowd of girls are surprised that the elder brother rejected Sister Lu. They understand that he is truly devoted to the Tao, and even if the elder sister was rejected, then they are even more so. Sister Lu is surprised that Meng Tian-an was able to refuse such an outstanding person like her. She was very impressed by his decisiveness, and in the eyes of this girl, he became more attractive. We see how the elder brother, having moved away from the mad crowd, apparently walks around the palace all alone, trying to escape from the human noise and have a normal rest. During his walk, the main character remembers how Lu Wuming recently approached him and persistently pestered him. Thinking about this, he shuddered sharply and decided to hit himself hard on the cheek. Having recovered from the blow, he realizes that he almost fell for Sister Lu's tricks because she tried to seduce him by making him her servant. He is not going to allow this because he is not some kind of fool. He clenches his fists and refuses to repeat the mistakes of his past life, because that time he died because he was deceived by one bad woman. After these words, two girls approach him, who apparently are his systems. The yellow-haired one reminds him that he has been reborn, and the pink-haired one tells him not to worry, because with her, he will not repeat past mistakes. Both of them hung on him, and the one on top asks him not to be paranoid and promises to help him, and the one below promises to provide cultivation for her master at any time. One girl begins to argue with the other, saying that paired cultivation is a thing of the past, because it is ineffective, and the other says that the methods of paired cultivation that she teaches are much more effective. The main character is already tired of all this. Both of them, continuing to argue with each other, could not come to a common opinion and decided to turn to Meng Tian-an, trying to find out what he thinks about this. But they are surprised to discover that while the argument was going on, the main character had already managed to run away from them and hide, because he was tired of all this noise and just wants to relax. In the next frame, we see Meng Tian-an, who hid from them behind the nearest wall and silently watches these crazy people trying not to give himself away, and the girls try to find him and shout out his name. The voice of the main character is heard in the background. He calls his name and says that in fact he has already been reborn. And they are going to show us these two girls in the events that happened a month ago. We are shown events from the past, where the main character lies on the grass under the rays of the sun and only comes to his senses in a place unfamiliar to him, wondering where he ended up. as on the morning after the New Year. And then suddenly a confetti firecracker is shot at him, which makes Meng Tian very surprised. He removes the confetti from his face and sees a man who came up to him congratulating him on something. It turned out that this is one of those girls who, clapping her hands, congratulates the main character on the fact that he was reborn. From the face of this loser, you can understand that he is at a loss. After congratulations, she asks him to choose her because, according to her, he is already dead, and says to sign a contract with her to start all over again. The main character still does not understand what is happening. At this moment, he reacts to a voice behind him, who, addressing the yellow-haired girl, says that it is not for her to decide who this guy should choose. Turning around, Meng Tianan sees a pink-haired girl already familiar to us who is sitting on him cross-legged and says that he should choose her. The guy is already tired of all this because he wants to get home as quickly as possible and play Valorant. The girls again begin to argue among themselves. The yellow-haired one thinks that he should choose her since she came first, and the pink-haired one is sure that he wants to choose her. Yellow-haired reminds about how they tried to make a decision using the game rock, paper, scissors into, which the pink one lost and does not admit it. The main character asks to explain to him what is happening here. One of the girls, realizing that she is dragged on with the argument, is going to hit him with a hammer that will remind him of his past life. Unexpectedly for Meng Tianan, she hits him on the head with a large hammer at high speed, triggering the memory restoration technique. He was slightly underwhelmed by the blow and briefly felt severe pain. We see scenes from the past life of the main character. In the background, we can hear the voice of one of the girls who says that he was an ordinary college student who saved a beautiful girl from a bandit. After this incident, Meng Tianan entered into a relationship with her. He found a job for her sake and worked hard to save money and make her happy, giving her various gifts because her smile made him very happy. But in the end, on one of his working days as a courier, he was trying to deliver a triple portion of KFS spicy wings for another fat man and noticed his girlfriend across the road, who at that moment was walking with some other guy. He overheard their conversation, where the guy in black asks why she hasn't left him yet. She replies with a smile that it's fun for her to watch him work hard for her and invites her new boyfriend to have fun tonight. The poor main character, having heard this whole conversation, was deeply shocked and in tears went up to the roof from where he simply jumped off, committing suicide, and his girlfriend remained living with this rich man. The memories end and we see Meng Tianan with a bump on his head. He remembers all this horror and begins to cry, and the girls continue to say that she only manipulated him and there was no love. The main character, baring his teeth, does not understand how he could be so blind and not happy with what his girlfriend from a past life was doing. Our guy, kneeling down and continuing to cry, does not understand why he is being punished like this and cannot stop crying. The girls looking at him understand that now emotions are going through the roof. These two beauties decided to introduce themselves to him. The yellow-haired one says that she is a system representing the path of good, and her name is Xuan Tianji. And if he chooses her, she will help him sincerely move forward, achieve fame, and protect his family and loved ones. The pink-haired girl says that she is a system that represents the path of evil, and her name is Qian Mei Er. And if he chooses her, she will help him destroy all enemies, take possession of treasures, power over others, and as a bonus, she will give out a fortnight battle pass. The systems stand in front of him, telling him to make his choice by taking the path of darkness or good, and the main character is interested in the place he is heading to, thinking that it is called the world of cultivation. They confirm this by calling the place a hidden heavenly kingdom. With a serious attitude, he makes it clear to them that he will not take either side and is going to rely only on his own strength to practice cultivation and become immortal in the end. The main character explains this by saying that he, as a man whose heart was broken by a woman, will no longer be able to trust any woman. This answer did not suit the systems, and they are simply at a loss. He begins to leave this place, realizing that according to the rules, if he has not accepted either side, then the system should lag behind him. But they continue to bother him. He believes that they are trying to seduce him. But he does not need this, because he will achieve all on your own. We are transported to the present time, where the main character watches as someone or something throws some guy at high speed straight into the wall. Turning around with interest in what is happening here, Meng Tianan notices some strong girl with a fluffy white hairstyle who spreads out all the fighters in a circle and easily holds one of them in her hand. This green-eyed girl is a warrior who came here for a worthy fight. She says that she cannot believe that among these lying guys, there is not a single worthy fighter who can resist her. In the next chapter, we find out that this girl's name is Xuan Ying, and she is a wolf demon. She looks at the main character, considering him a gentle and handsome guy, and already wants to fight him, hoping to remain satisfied. The loser, who was only recently in her hands, was thrown far to the side by her, and Xuanying begins to slowly but confidently approach Meng Tianan. Realizing that she is a wolf demon, he understands that he cannot compare with her in strength. The girls of the system decided to take advantage of the moment and offer their help to the main character. The good one says that her abilities are perfect at such moments, and the evil one says that by choosing her, he will be able to cope with any enemy. Our Gigachid decided not to choose anyone. Meng Tianan seems attractive to her, and she decides to first catch him, have a little fun, and then kill him. The guy is already simply terrified, realizing that it will be difficult for him to cope with her. The girls of the system again pestered him, telling him to quickly solve one of them. This genius understands that he should not give in to them immediately after rebirth, and should not fall into their trap, because perhaps this wolf demon was sent here by the system. The main character has a brilliant idea. He decides to just sit on the ground and tells the girls to do the same, which makes them perplexed. But Meng Tianan is completely calm because he knows what he is doing. He, confident in his plan, begins to provoke Xuanying, calling her a useless little dog and telling her to kill her if she is strong enough. These words hurt her, and she will not leave it so easily. She became furious and jumped on Sigma, saying that at first they wanted to play with him, but now she'll just kill him. He just continues to sit in place as if knowing what's about to happen. Xuantianji began to worry about Meng Tianan's life and decides to help him despite the fact that it is against the rules, because he still has not chosen her. The claws of the demon wolf are already right at the head of the main character, but he is still sitting calmly. But suddenly the good system helped him by activating some kind of force field, from which Xuanying flew back. You can see how this little dog flew far back, and when it landed on the ground, it still slid a few meters, not understanding what it was about to happen. The good system tells the main character about this ability called the Divine Holy Body, saying that it reflects evil spirits and destroys the mind of the attacker, and asks him to choose it again. Smiling slyly, Meng Tianan understands that he will defeat the wolf demon because the systems are worried about his life and will do everything to keep him alive. He won't even have to choose them. He pretends that he doesn't care about these abilities and prefers to take the initiative. Qianmei Er heard this and decided to take advantage of what she thought was a good moment. The evil system kisses the protagonist on the forehead and invites him to try an ability called the Devilish Art of Demons. The spell will allow him to resist thousands of enemies, and the method of its use has already been entered into his mind. The two systems, as usual, begin to argue with each other, and each thinks that the guy should choose it. At this time, the main character receives a new ability, and, considering it interesting, is going to use it. Meanwhile, Xuanying woke up at the moment when Meng Tianan was handling the systems. She thinks that he is talking to himself and does not take her seriously, because only he sees these two systems. The wolf demon has already gone completely wild and, blushing all over, promises to tear the main character into pieces and, confident of his victory, is going to pounce on him. The dude, having decided to try his abilities, says that he will not tolerate rudeness in his palace from some demon wolf and wishes her a speedy death. This nimble she-wolf laughingly dodges his attack and almost jumps on the main character, saying that he is too slow for her and his new powers are useless against her. Meng Tianan decides to try an ability called Collapse, which summons a huge hammer in an attempt to pin down the arrogant enemy, but she is too fast for this attack and easily dodges, considering him a complete fool. Seeing that he does not have enough strength to finish her off, at the last moment the main character decides to use another spell that bound Xuanying, which makes her at a loss and does not know what to do. The main character, with the help of this spell, was successfully able to bind his enemy, from which she fell to the ground, being completely helpless, and does not understand how an ordinary student can be so strong. Apparently she underestimated him. At the beginning of the next chapter, Xuanying, having insulted Meng Tianan, justifies her defeat by saying that she was not ready and tells him to let her go and repeat the battle fairly, still wondering how an ordinary cultivator can be so strong. The main character, with the satisfied face of a winner, tells her not to joke because the head of the sect will come soon and they will definitely catch her. After these words, he shocks her with the help of magic ropes with which she is tied. Qianmei asks if the main character liked her abilities, calling him to the dark side. Xuantianji really considers these abilities demonic, and the cunning guy liked the abilities. Looking at them with a sly look, he thinks that they are trying to play on his conscience with their favor. He is not going to take either side, thinking that they will still provide him with their abilities. He addresses them, saying that they both have good abilities and he needs time to choose one of them. He asks for more time to try out more abilities, which makes the systems think. Meanwhile, Meng Tianan hears someone calling him. He turns around and sees a crowd of people from his palace, including sect leader Liu Yanzi and Lu Wuming, who are worried about him. Seeing the head of the sect, he realizes that she is much more beautiful than he remembers, and she has already managed to run up to him and grab him by the cheeks, thereby greatly embarrassing him. She, rejoicing that the main character was okay, hugged him tightly, almost suffocating him with her large cores. Apparently Meng Tianan really liked it. He was just silent, enjoying the moment. The people from the palace are very jealous of our Sigma, too many Sigmas, because they also want to experience the tolerance of the sect leader. They consider the beauty of this guy to be his main advantage, since even the sect leader is interested. Sister Lu, looking at how the head of the sect hugs the main character, is surprised to realize how direct she is, and apparently she herself wants to hug Meng Tianan. We are shown the second eldest brother of Donghua Palace named Fang Xin, and he is apparently dissatisfied with the fact that he clenches his fist and shows great anger, which surprises Sister Lu. We see our Sigma again. He thanks the head of the guild for showing concern and says that he tamed the wolf demon and did not suffer himself. With this, he surprised Liu Yanzi, and she is interested in where the enemy is sitting. The main character shows the place where Xuanying lay tied up. He and the whole crowd are surprised to discover that the wolf demon has disappeared somewhere, because a couple of minutes ago she was lying here tied up. The girls of the system appear, who told him that the effect of the ability has ended. They say that they also have principles and the abilities were temporary. The main character became convinced of the unreliability of women. The surprised Liu Yanzi looks at the embarrassed Mei Tianan and listens to his explanation that his abilities were not enough and the wolf demon was able to escape. The green-haired guy comes up and reminds everyone that Xuanying was a step above the main character and asks how he was able to stop her, thinking that he was lying and trying to seem cool. The main character remembers how he and that guy constantly had different conflicts, and after listening to all this nonsense, the red-eyed man understands that now not only women, but also men are haunting him. Meanwhile, one of Fang Xin's watchdogs is trying to frame the main character by saying that he finds a boron in his room and shows it to the crowd, from which they are really convinced that it is him and are very surprised, believing that he is in cahoots with the wolf demon. The satisfied green-haired man says that boron is useless for them, but vital for the evil cultivators. Everyone is in shock, because they considered Meng Tianan a good person. The main character is simply shocked by this whole situation, and by the fact that this idiot is trying to set him up and no longer knows what to do, because the crowd is already beginning to doubt Meng Tianan's correctness. The brown-haired man, under the condemning glances of the crowd, shyly turns away from them, realizing that even though this is all a cliché, it works. Red Eyes understands that these idiots will not be able to fool him, and just before he had time to finish with his thoughts, the wolf demon suddenly returns to everyone and was right behind the head of the guild. Everyone notices the seemingly hostile Xuanying. The crowd is greatly surprised, and the students are already about to throw all their strength into protecting Liu Yanzi. Meng Tianan, like a real gigachad, asks her how she dared to return here after that battle, and threatens her with the fact that he is going to beat her again, already in the mood for a fight. But she didn't come here to fight, but with an offer to start serving the main character. Xuanying, like a real puppy, crawled up to the main character and hugged his leg, deciding to start everything from scratch. This surprised everyone very much. Fortunately for Meng Tianan, she says that she attacked the palace on the orders of Fang Xin, pointing her finger at him. This loser tries to justify himself by saying that she confused him with someone. At this moment, he does not understand how she returned. The condemning glances of the crowd have already shifted to the green-eyed one. Everyone understands that they were wrong about the main character. Seeing the wounds on the wolf demon, they are convinced that he defeated her, and Fang Xin just wanted to set him up. The green guy again tries to clear himself of all charges, saying that Meng Tianan must be in cahoots with Xuanying, and asks the crowd how can they believe such a monster, which makes the crowd perplexed. Someone from the crowd says that he helped Fang Xin plant boron in the main character's room, and asks for his reward, thereby showing everyone that they tried to frame the main character. Green-haired looks unhappy. We see a crowd of his students, each of whom is trying to turn to him with various requests. He must pay someone for boron from the black market, someone is talking about some kind of aphrodisiac, and someone is talking about the fact that he promised to teach him how to play to the League of Legends. The crowd begins to surround him, and this loser, not understanding what is happening at all, assumes that they were all knocked out by a wolf demon, and because of this they became like zombies. At this moment, Meng Tianan orders his people to throw Xuanying into the dungeon. They listen to him and grab the girl, and she whines because she does not want to be separated from the main character. Meanwhile, one of the systems turns to him, asking if her ability was useful to him in time, the main character, pretending that he still begins to turn his gaze in her direction. At this moment, the systems begin to argue. The good one grabbed the evil one because she promised that she would not give him her abilities. The evil one says that no one cares about this, and if she needs help, she is always ready. Meng Tianan begins to praise Qianye Mayer, saying that she is just in time, making it clear that he is pleased, and tells Xuan Tianji that at this rate he can choose the evil system. She was slightly frightened by this and flies up to him as if he were a small child, asking him to think carefully and saying that she will give him any ability he wants. And the main character is very happy that he is able to manipulate them. In the next chapter, we see Fang Xin again, surrounded by his students who accuse him of trying to frame Meng Tianan, and he stands and listens to this. They point their fingers at him, and he says that all this is not true, calling these accusations slander, and justifies himself by the fact that the main character bribed the wolf demon. The brown-haired man sees that all attempts to talk to him are useless, and he does not admit his guilt, after which Xuan Tianji decides to show his capabilities and uses a truth spell on him. While the green-haired man is under this spell, the system explains how it works, saying that it forces the victim to tell the complete truth and feel guilty for it. The spell apparently worked, and Fang Xin, kneeling down and covering his face, begins to tell how he placed a boron in the main character's room, and then quietly released the wolf demon, asking for forgiveness. The crowd begins to discuss how bad this green-eyed guy is, realizing that Mei Tianan was falsely accused and Fang Xin is actually to blame, and the brown-haired guy is simply perplexed that the crowd believes everything they hear. As a sign of forgiveness, senior brother Fang Xin offers our Sigma the true essence pill that he bought for a lot of money just recently, hoping that he asks him for it. He, like a real good-natured person, forgives him, saying that there is great strength in admitting mistakes, and he realized that the forgiveness was sincere, which made Fang Xin very grateful to him, wiping his tears. Sister Lu, like all the other girls, begin to admire the main character, since he dealt with the slander calmly and nobly, and consider him cool since he was able to forgive the bad guy. The systems again contact him, and the good one says that righteous people should do the right thing. And the evil one says that the method of cultivating Xuan Tianji is no different from the demonic, and this is simply hypocrisy. After all the actions and dialogue with the two girls, Meng Tianan begins to feel that something is wrong, and someone is standing too close to him, which makes him feel uncomfortable. To his surprise, he discovers that this is the head of the guild, Liu Yanzi, who sniffs him as if it should be so. He tries to ask her why she is doing all this. She, being evil, answers his question with her own question, asking why a strong demonic aura emanates from him, which makes him slightly surprised because no one except him sees or feels the girls of the systems. The angry head of the guild, realizing what was going on, turns away from the main character, loudly telling him to come to her in the evening because they will have a serious conversation, which made the crowd very surprised. Meng Tianan almost forgot that the sect is righteous and problems may arise with this. At this time, the crowd is talking about how lucky he is, because in their opinion, Liu Yanzi herself fell in love with him. Night falls and we are shown the Donghua Palace. From the windows of the houses of this palace, a burning light is visible. Apparently someone is not sleeping right now, and Ye Bai should already have approached this place by order of the head of the guild. You can see how he walks through the palace, thinking about how strong the head of the guild is, and if he wanted to escape, he would not be able to escape from her grip. He hopes that she just wants to talk to him. A dialogue with the systems begins. Meng Tianan scolds the good system for the fact that because of its method of cultivation, they began to suspect him. She, in turn, realized that she should no longer use demoness cultivation. He begins to quietly enter the room in which Liu Yanzi is sitting and meditating. He is already thinking not to disturb her, otherwise she will get angry with him. Noticing the presence of Meng Tianan, she tells him to sit down. He, having listened to his head, is going to sit in the place she indicated. Apparently a dialogue will now begin between them. Liu Yanzi looks at the handsome man with a disapproving glance. She does not like the fact that Tianan, as the senior disciple of the Donghua sect and a righteous cultivator, has succumbed to the dark arts. The main character asks the head to calm down first and says that for him, there is no difference between good and evil. This simply does not happen in cultivation. There are only unclean intentions in the heart of the cultivator. In her opinion, demonic cultivators are those who are portrayed as immoral, committing sins. She is afraid that the dark arts might influence Meng Tianan. The guy says that even among righteous cultivators, there are those who are far from moral, and this is taking into account the fact that they do not practice dark arts. And in demonic sects, there are also those who support justice. Liu Yanzi does not say anything in response to the main character, and only bared her teeth and put her hand on his shoulder, which made him slightly nervous and cannot guess what awaits him now. She suddenly begins to shake him in different directions, holding him by the shoulders, and says that she doesn't care that he practices dark arts, she just doesn't want to let him stray from the righteous path. The brown-haired man began to consider women inconsistent. Suddenly, after all this mother begins to take off almost all her clothes and looking at Meng Tianan with obsessed eyes, promises to teach him the double-sect cultivation, the technique of immortal harmony. Already in the next chapter, you can see how Liu Yanzi has tied up the main character and is about to play with him. The main character asks her to behave decently, and she thinks that he is just shy. The head of the guild didn't care about Meng Tianan's words, and she had already straddled him, which made the guy simply have nothing to say. He couldn't offer resistance since she was too strong, and besides, he was tied up. Continuing to sit on the brown-haired man, she calls his name trying to attract attention. While stroking his chest, Meng Tianan does not understand what is happening because they were just talking about dark arts. While the woman is enjoying our guy, our boy notices Chen Mei-er, who meanwhile pretends that she doesn't know what's going on here. Judging by her facial expression, she set it all up. Their conversation is not heard by Liu Yanzi, and the evil system says that it was all set up by charming the lady with a technique called the charm technique. This really pissed off the red-eyed man. After the dialogue, looking at his body and the mistress who continues to enjoy it, he discovers with horror that he has somehow already been undressed. The head of the guild is working very quickly. The evil Meng Tianan demands the pink-haired one to quickly return everything back, but it turns out that this is all her cunning plan. She says that she can return everything only if the owner chooses her. The guy begins to call the good system, and then suddenly a sharp flash of light appears. A good system has appeared with the intention of helping the owner. The evil system is surprised and looks at it questioningly. Xuantianji condemns the pink-haired girl for such disgusting ways to force the owner to make a choice. The evil system is very unhappy that she constantly ruins everything for her in this way. But of course, the evil system doesn't care whether the yellow-haired woman approves of her actions or not. In her opinion, the ruler should choose her. And at that moment, she releases a mysterious, erotic aroma towards the good system. A dissatisfied good system receives a flow of this energy directly onto itself. It tries to cover itself with its own hands, but it doesn't work, and it already knows what will happen now. Qian Mei-er, grabbing her by the hips, says that she has known her for a very long time and already has some ways to pacify her. For example, now she has increased her sensitivity 100 times. The good system does not like this. Seeing the drama that is happening between the two systems, he believes that the kind one trying to help him is already going to give up, under pressure from Chen Mei-er, calling this act weak. Meng Tianan, seeing how Liu Yanzi began to get into his pants, was very afraid that now everyone would see his little pod, but the lady, without knowing it, was already going to fool around with him. At the last moment, the main character calls Xuantianji for help, promising to most likely choose her if she helps. She liked this offer, and is about to rush to his aid. She said that she had been waiting for these words from her master for a very long time. She had already strongly pushed away the evil system and flies to the main character. Qian Mei-er already thinks that she will not be chosen, and with these actions, she only helped the yellow-haired one. Flying up to them, she uses the technique of dissolving astral chi and with 2 fingers shoots a magic beam directly at the back of Ms. Liu Yanzi's head, thereby calming her and freeing the bound guy. The woman, coming to her senses, notices how our Sigma, without wasting time, hastily puts on his pants. Realizing that right now he almost lost his virginity, she cannot understand what she was doing just now. Having fully dressed, Meng Tianan says that he, as her disciple, has limited cultivation, and the dual cultivation technique is not part of his qualifications and is already leaving the building. After he left, the mistress continues to think about what she did a couple of minutes ago, realizing how indecently she behaved, completely blushing with embarrassment. But after thinking briefly, she begins to admire the main character, saying that even in such a situation he remained completely serious, unbending with lust, which is why she truly fell in love with him. While the evil Meng Tianan is stomping around the yard, the systems are arguing again. The pink-haired one says how the yellow-haired one can consider herself truthful after everything that happened. And she responds by saying that in love, as in war, all means are fair. With a sweet smile, Xuantianji flies up to the main character and asks the main character to choose her, because she made a promise to her, and this cunning kid says that she misunderstood him. He reminds her that he said he would probably choose her. That is, this is not accurate. She, disappointed, considers him a disgusting deceiver. And the evil system, believing that all is not lost, begins to laugh at this. At the beginning of the new chapter, we see Meng Tianan, who is very unhappy after what happened last night. He opens the doors with a crunch and is about to meet a crowd of people from the palace. The crowd, having met him, begins to ask a bunch of different questions. They are very interested in what he had that very evening with his mistress. Someone jokes about this topic. Someone says that they are suitable for each other, and someone condemns. He says that many people were watching the fun, so he and Miss Liu Yanzi had nothing like that. Otherwise, even if it makes sense, it won't be clear. Sister Liu approaches the main character shouting about why the head of the sect called her to her right now. Is he really the chosen one? He does not understand what she is talking about and explains that they were just a normal conversation and nothing more. Suddenly, two mean girls of the system decide to take revenge on him for his lies. They use a truth spell on him and are about to enjoy the performance that is about to take place. Being under the spell, Meng Tianan begins to talk about what really happened yesterday. That woman offered to teach him the method of double cultivation, which made the whole crowd in shock, and the guy realized that it was all not good. He understands that he needs to wake up and begins to press one hand on the other behind his back, hoping that at least this will help him. But he feels uneasy, because he is going to say something else. Under the influence of the spell, he says that he immediately refused. Later he learned that the leader was simply testing his determination in this way. The crowd believes that they are in vain accusing the protagonist of bad deeds. The evil system uses another spell, saying that there is something to learn from the elder brother. Two large guys who look like characters from Gachamuchi are immediately summoned and ask him to share his cultivation experience with them, inviting him to his room. After all this, he asked all the Taoists to gather because it was already getting late, and he left, jumping high into the air. The crowd did not like that he abruptly decided to leave them and looked at him in surprise. He goes into some building where he starts to get angry at the systems for their behavior, and they just tease him and say that it's obvious how he uses both of them, just not choosing anyone, and he shouldn't joke about it. The main character realized that these girls are not stupid, and have already realized that he is manipulating them and teasing him. He must show them that he is also serious, and will not give up so easily. The girls of the system began to silently look at each other, and simultaneously said to each other that this sounds like the truth. It's clear how the main character was simply able to masterfully outwit them. Meng Tianan tells them that he has a wonderful plan with some rules of openness and fairness, promising them that their efforts will not be in vain. The girls are interested in his words. Starting from today, he is going to evaluate the two of them based on the results. Points will be awarded for a good job, and points will be deducted for a poorly done job. The first one to score 100 points will become his main system. A serious Xuan Tianji asks if he will cheat. He said no, remembering how she helped him, and adds 20 points, and takes away 5 from the evil system, because she used a spell on the head of the sect. Qianmeier already believes that the main character will someday get under her garnet skirt, because she knows how to satisfy him. And Xuan Tianji believes that this is an easy target for her, since the red-haired woman often provoked the owner. The girls were satisfied with this proposal, and they let him know that the deal was completed. They hope that this deceiver will not take back his words, and they will definitely be able to show themselves well in the future. But to their misfortune, the cunning Meng Tianan always knows how to ruin people's mood, and quietly interrupts them by saying that there is one more small nuance. The main character remembered how these two tried to disgrace him in front of all his classmates, using different spells on him, and therefore decides to take away all the available points, which makes the systems look unhappy. In the next chapter, you can see how the girls in the systems did not like this, and they begin to make excuses to him, saying that it was all their fault and that they just wanted to joke and would not repeat this in the future. The main character makes it clear to these two hysterics that he will deduct points from them for noise and meaningless chatter, so they should be more careful if they want to score 100 points. Events move to the courtyard, where Meng Tianan is about to enter the building, and we are made to understand that cultivation is divided into several stages: purification of qi, then construction of the foundation, danji, nascent soul, becoming a god. Red Eyes, who is now only at the foundation construction level, examines the item given to him by Fang Xin. It allows the monks to temporarily open heavenly openings and increase the efficiency of absorbing spiritual energy. He is just about to eat this ball when he is interrupted by the girls of the system, who need something from him since they look at him like that. This made Meng Tianan very angry, and he doesn't understand what they need from him. Because he was going to calmly just eat this ball and asks them to quickly tell him what's going on. At first, they listen to him silently. They decide to offer their services to him again. The yellow-haired one says that she can use the righteous cultivation method to increase the effectiveness of his cultivation, and the pink-haired one offers to awaken the demonic body in him. This genius understands that these two women were hostages of his point system and will no longer cause him any harm. He can use their abilities. But it is better not to have anything to do with the way of the devil. The main character believes that the good side is more suitable for him and says that the next steps depend on Xuan Tianji. She is pleased and says that he can rely on her, which makes the evil system look unhappy. Meng Tianan tells Qianye Mayer to keep an eye on him while outside and not to let anyone inside while she was flying away. She heard him promise the good system to give her points after training, which left her dissatisfied. Behind the sitting handsome guy stands a kind girl system and asks him about his readiness before starting the training. He exhales calmly and lets her know that he is completely ready for this. After that, she begins to cast various spells, casting various enchantments on the main character, namely pure body and soul, enlightenment, harmony between heaven and earth, liberation of the Taoist heart, 5 senses clear. You can see how the spells begin to work and the main character begins to feel unusual feelings. This spiritual energy continuously breaks into his body, and, apparently, everything suits him. During this process, Chen Mayer flies into them, and seeing this all, she thinks that it's all over. Because the owner is very happy with the good system, and if this continues, they both will have a strong gap in points. She decides to prevent this, and very meanly, without emotion, uses a certain spell, saying that she must bring death to this earth and has already directed the power towards the main character. Xuan Tianji notices this and does not understand what is happening to him, because the efficiency of absorbing spiritual energy of this Sigma has become much higher. The guy says that he can no longer control it. Events are abruptly transferred to the underground Donghua Palace, where a guy approaches a certain second elder with the news that today there are no deviations in the spiritual veins. The news pleased the old man. Grandfather, stroking his beard, says that if something goes wrong, the effectiveness of students' cultivation will suffer, as well as various restrictions on formation within the sect. Suddenly their peace is interrupted by a sharp shock, from which they fell into bewilderment. It is clear that energy begins to be released from the crystals, and apparently the reason for all this was Qian Mayer's spell. The disciple says that the spiritual power of the veins has dimmed and thinks that this is due to the departure from the Tao. The second elder says that this does not look like spiritual decline. It is more like someone has sucked all the spiritual power from the spiritual veins. Still in the Danhua dungeon, we see the wolf demon Xuanying lying down. She thinks about the incident with the main character. It seems strange to her that a student of the righteous path has mastered the skills of both the demonic and the righteous path. She also felt that something was wrong with the dungeon, because the ground beneath her began to shake, very surprised by this situation. The wolf demon will notice that after all these strange processes in the dungeon, the seal that kept her locked up suddenly broke. She simply cannot believe it, because now she can be free. One of the students notices how after all the problems that happened in the dungeon, all the monsters had the opportunity to escape from there, and this is very bad because they pose a threat. Standing against the backdrop of a bunch of dangerous monsters who are already thirsty for human blood, the student asks the others to warn the sect leader Liu Yanzi that all the monsters have escaped and some measures need to be taken. It can be seen how the monsters have already begun to attack ordinary students of the Donghua Palace. A large bird grabbed one guy and is taking him somewhere, and a large monster that looks like a troll, seeing the nun, is already planning to do something indecent with her. Suddenly, a purple beam flies right into the ugly loser's head, after which all his desires to have fun with the defenseless mogul fell away, and he began to fear for his life. Then it turned out that this beam was launched by the head of the guild. She asks the students to stand their ground and work together to fight off evil enemies. Seeing her, these people have hope. Suddenly we see the old grandfather again, who says that the spiritual veins were deprived of their energy and the restrictions in the underground disappeared, from which all the monsters were able to escape. He thinks that the main character could not do this. It was someone else. Liu Yanzi considers the main character sincere and tells everyone that he could not perform actions that could harm the sect. She still believes that it was someone else and asks everyone to deal with all the monsters first. The mustachioed man, for whom this woman is his mother-in-law, thinks that they are connected with that guy and in the future, they still won't have the opportunity to make a fuss. Meanwhile, one of the students runs up and says that something bad happened. Suddenly, a huge explosion occurs for everyone, which throws everyone in different directions with its wave and blinds them with its flash. No one can yet understand what caused it. The reason for this was a certain tiger demon, who looks like a very formidable opponent, and is finally very happy that he was able to get out of this dungeon, because he spent a lot of time there. Sect leader Liu Yanzi stands with two elders. The three of them look very unhappy that even this tiger was able to escape from the dungeon. Their ancestor fought with it for 3 days and 3 nights before sealing it. This woman, approaching the tiger warrior, asks the two elders to go and quickly wake up that same ancestor and restore the order, while she herself is going to start a battle with the horned one. At the same time, we see Meng Tianan, who has just woken up after the effects of all these spells and apparently does not even understand what is happening in the palace. As he stretches out, he feels an unprecedented sense of relief and thinks that this is all from self-improvement and he likes it. The kind system congratulates him on reaching the peak of foundation construction. Suddenly, their peace is interrupted by a huge bull demon who has escaped from the dungeon. The evil system rushes to the main character, frightened by this terrible black-horned beast. This horned one begins to destroy everything in his path, being very angry, and noticing Meng Tianan, he decides to attack him, and the red-eyed one in turn asks someone for help. The good system is trying to come to the rescue, saying that the main character has already upgraded his skills enough with it, and this bull demon is no longer a match for him. The main character, realizing this, is going to accept this battle. Suddenly, for this big bull, Meng Tianan suddenly jumps high up, delivering a strong blow to this loser, which makes him not happy and realizes that everything is over for him. Next, we see how this bull realized that he was no match for the long-haired one. Because he lay down immediately after one blow, he had no choice but to lie on the ground, being a loser. The evil protagonist does not understand why various monsters are again raging in the sect and addresses this question to two systems, thinking that it is all someone's rage. The systems begin to make excuses, and the good girl is about to say something and is immediately interrupted by the evil system, saying that she is not the only one who can cause trouble and laughing slyly at the same time. Meanwhile, the events are transferred again to the Donghua Palace, and we see a huge green lizard monster drooling while holding one of the students with its paw, and he asks to be saved. Unexpectedly for the monster, we see a huge golden fiery sword flying at his back, from which he does not have time to dodge and, as a result, receives a powerful blow directly to his back. Everyone notices the man who launched this sword into the back of the dangerous monster and points a finger at him, at which time this same man stands with his feet right on the hilt of this huge sword. This man turns out to be elder brother Meng Tianan. Everyone immediately recognizes him, and he continues to proudly stand on the hilt of a large sword, which was stuck into the carcass of the enemy he defeated. The dissatisfied main character becomes convinced that all this mess was created by the good system of Xuan Tianji. She feels guilty for this and repents. The main character realizes that he will have to deal with this. In the next chapter, we see the main character standing in front of a crowd of students and talking to the systems. He tells the good system that if it helps him practice, he can achieve his merit, and this time he will take away 15 points. Qianmeier asks Xuan Tianji why they have the same number of points, thereby teasing her, which makes the good system very upset. Getting angry, she begins to blame the pink-haired one for causing all these problems, and she pretends that she had nothing to do with it and starts whistling for no reason. They again begin to argue with each other, blaming each other for this problem. At this moment, the main character climbs off the beast he killed, thinking that women are again causing him a lot of problems. Meanwhile, Meng Tianan notices the head of the guild, who for some reason falls from the top of the building and lands right in front of the main character, being badly injured, which surprises him. She, trying to get up from the floor, notices the main character and calls him, and he asks if she is okay, trying to find out what kind of monster could do this to her, hastily trying to get closer to her. While Tianan was helping Liu Yanzi get up from the ground, a demon tiger approaches them, distracting them with his presence. Apparently, the situation is heating up, and now there will be a serious battle. This warrior says that the girl can't resist playing the movie. I'm not enough yet. He made these two very angry. The head tells the guy to take away the Taoist disciples and is going to stop the villain. The main character decides to remind her that she is the leader of the sect, and she should not die in battle. She says that this is so, and her duty is to protect him along with other Taoist students. He begins to think that she wants him to run away first immediately after he was seriously injured, continuing to believe that there are no good women in this world. The good system tells him how strong this tiger demon is, because he is at the elixir formation Satya. Tianan asks her to get all the trump cards, if any. She apologizes, saying that she can only provide the strength of the owner's level. This tiger on steroids decides to kill them, not understanding why the main character is talking to himself in his presence. He and the head of the guild look at him in shock, about to take the blow. A strong blow lands directly on Meng Tianan, from which he quickly flies back, thinking about how strong this beast is, and the head of the guild remained in place and looks at the flying guy. The head of the guild, seeing what this beast has now done to the main character and how far he has flown, begins to worry greatly about the guy. Hoping that everything will be fine with him, the guy feels severe pain, and the good system is already going to help him. Liu Yanzi, after seeing what he saw, begins to use his powers to help Meng Tianan, and at high speed flies straight into the demon tiger, trying to defeat him. At this moment, the tiger demon evaluates the guy who hit. He understands that he is still at the stage of building the foundation, and he is too weak to do anything to him. He also looks too lethargic and tired for him. The head of the guild, after a couple of moments, finds himself right next to the horned one. At this moment, he is still in his thoughts, assessing the main character. The lady, taking advantage of the moment, is about to strike a powerful blow. But this guy is not a fool, and he understood what this woman was going to do to him. With one sharp movement of his hand, he quickly grabbed her hand, which made her very surprised, and he only smiled slyly in her face, promising to kill her. While the villain was holding the beauty's hand, planning to do something bad to her, someone who decided to help the lady flew into him at great speed, causing this bad guy to fly far back. It turned out that it was the main character, who somehow gained strength and dealt a crushing blow to the tiger on steroids. Liu Yanzi was very surprised at the beginning, and then she was very happy. Rising from the ground, the strong man does not understand how the boy, being at the stage of building the foundation, could pass something like this against him, calling him a weakling who is just trying to appear strong. The system begins to talk to Meng Tianan. She talks about a new ability that helps the owner overcome the limitation of his development level in a short period of time. And even with the most powerful enemy, he will fight with a 50-50 chance. The red-haired demon, still perplexed by the fact that a student who is studying along the righteous path is using evil techniques against him, is going to attack the main character, tearing him into pieces. Looking at his enemy, Meng Tianan is about to accept a seemingly fair fight, but then suddenly, apparently, the hands of the demon tiger are trying to hold back the girls of the system in order to help the main character. Opening its claws, the tiger rushes at the young guy, saying that he had just left prison and was worried that he would not find a worthy opponent to stretch his muscles. Meng Tianan silently rushes back at him. You can see how these two are locked in mortal combat and are about to tear each other apart. These two are very serious, and the winner will receive a battle pass to Valorant. The next chapter shows how the two continue their battle high above the ground. A crowd of students watches the battle in amazement and cheers for Meng Tianan, because at the moment, he is the only one who can help. The head of the guild and Sister Lu are discussing how strong the main character is. The head of the guild understands that Tianan can repel the demon tiger and also hopes for his victory, because she herself was defeated. At this time, the two warriors continue to exchange blows, inflicting pain on each other. From the blow of the demon tiger, Tianan flew far back, flying into some kind of wall. The head of the guild and Sister Lu begin to worry a lot about him, because the blow was strong enough and he could have hurt himself and been defeated in a fight with the horned bastard. The horned one begins to slowly but confidently approach the main character, who flew several meters back and sees how he has already risen to his feet after such a powerful blow, which seems like a surprise to him. Red-Eyed begins to believe that the two of them cannot defeat each other, believing that they have equal strength. And he also understands that the enemy's strength is permanent, but his is only temporary, and it may end later. Seeing that something is wrong, a kind system flies up to him and tries to find out his condition. The brown-haired man asks her how long her spell that gave him power will last. But he didn't really get an answer. She just said that it was her. He doesn't understand what she's talking about and asks where Chanyame Air is. Being at a loss, the good system looks sad. With sadness, she reports that the evil system has run out of power and has fallen into a deep sleep. The guy understands that for some time, he will be left without the abilities of the dark force. He was surprised by the words of the good system, that the evil system had gone to sleep and wanted to find out how long she had been gone. She replied that it would last from 3 hours to 30 years. The main character understands that this is too long. His dialogue is interrupted by the demon tiger who, like some kind of king, has risen above him and asks what he is doing there. The main character thinks that he is about to get his skinny ass kicked. Tian An, having already realized that now it would be bad, sees how the red-haired man, clenching his two fists, raised them high above his head and was about to deliver a blow that could finish off the guy. Suddenly, a bright flash of white light appears, which illuminates everything around. From this flash, an old grandfather with thick hair on his face is visible. He orders the evil creature to urgently stop its actions. Fortunately for Meng Tianan, this bright flash of light blinded everyone around him, including the demon tiger, which prevented him from delivering his fatal blow. Apparently, they came to the Donghua Palace to help. We We find out that this grandfather is the ancestor of Donghua. The guy looks at him, and the tiger sees in him the man who imprisoned him in a dungeon. The ancestor asks the main character to move a little to the side, leaving this place free for battle. The main character immediately recognizes this grandfather as the ancestor of Donghua, and the red-haired tiger is already accelerating to attack a potential enemy and is trying to play on surprise by trying to jump on him. The demon flies straight at the old master, saying that now there will be the strongest battle in the Donghua palace. The grandfather simply floats above the ground and does nothing. As a result, he receives a blow from the elbow right in his face. Grandpa flies far back from this blow, doing several somersaults in flight and landing on the ground. Trying to recover from the blow, he became afraid of the demon wolf. The wolf demon grabs the weak grandfather right by his suit, then grabs him by the scruff of the neck and says that even if he is old, he can still survive. Last time the tiger lost due to his carelessness, but this time he will not allow this to happen. The main character begins to seriously worry about the ancestor because the grandfather received a powerful blow to the face and looks very weak. At this moment, the ancestor stretches out his hand to the villain and asks him to wait a little. Calling the villain a fellow Taoist, he asks him to calm down and promises that he will give him the conditions that they agreed on earlier. Meng Tian-an does not understand what he is talking about and tries to turn to the ancestor to find out what happened. In the next chapter, we see how a large energy barrier appears in front of the crowd. Someone does not understand what is happening right now, and someone thinks that this is all the work of Meng Tian-an. The head of the guild, together with Sister Lu, stand in front of this huge ball of energy and also do not understand what it could be. Liu Yanzi is already beginning to make his own assumptions about it. The main character continues to look at the scene with the demon tiger and the ancestor of the Donghua palace. He understands that something important is happening now, and simply opening his mouth is unable to find words. Meng Tian-an thinks that the worthy ancestor of Donghua was killed as soon as he went up. The villain in turn asks his grandfather if he agrees to his conditions, and the grandfather is going to show what he asked for. Respectfully addressing the tiger demon, the grandfather hands him some kind of box, saying that this is the same Manhua Dan that he needs. The red-haired strong warrior drew attention to this box. Having started to take this item from his ancestor, he slyly began to laugh and said that he had long dreamed of it. But at the same time, he suspects the old man of something, because everything looks somehow too simple. He throws the old man away from him, saying that he knows about his thoughts and he believes that the ancestor is going to attack him, while the tiger is completely distracted by his new gift. The grandfather did not expect that he would guess this before. The horned tiger explained his guess by saying that the ancestor used the same trick a couple of years ago when they fought for the first time. The old man, as if nothing had happened, says that he forgot about it. Meng Tian-an begins to worry about the ancestor.
Believing that he is the strongest here, the red-haired man decides to laugh at everyone, considering them weaklings. But everything suits him, because he is having fun. He is just a villain who uses dirty tricks against his enemies.
Our boy runs up to the ancestor, trying to find out his condition and, if possible, help. The wounded ancestor tries to speak and is still lying on his lap, trying to come to his senses. Grandfather says that all his abilities cannot be compared with time. He is old and knows that he no longer matches the strength of the villain. He says that he did not lie, and there is really Manhua Dan in the box. He hopes that the villain will leave because of this student's at rest. The red-haired villain believes that he has other ways to get a pill to restore sleep, after which he fell silent for a while, and thought while holding this box in his hands. Horn decided for himself that it wouldn't hurt him to take another pill. Opening this box, he sees rays of bright white light that are aimed directly at him. He already thinks that something is wrong here. Suddenly, the Donghua ancestor flies out of the box, who is completely surrounded by white flowers, and apparently he managed to outwit the villain once again. The demon tiger does not understand what is happening now. Next, the old man grabs one of the white flowers with 2 fingers, says that there is one flaw here, and delivers a powerful blow with these 2 fingers right on the tiger's head. It's clear that he is simply confused. The main character himself is perplexed seeing this whole picture. In the place where he was holding his ancestor a minute ago, a bunch of white flowers have formed, and the upset demon tiger understands that the old man cheated again in the battle with him. The old man is funny about all this. He says that the soldier never gets tired of deception and tells this kitten that he can always deceive him no matter what. Taoists will always be stronger than devils. The main character is very glad that the ancestor did not lose this battle, and takes pleasure in watching how this old stump mocks the unfortunate red-haired kitten. The ancient ancestor, flying up to Meng Tian-an, thanks him for not shitting his pants and trying to fight back this tiger, holding him back and preventing him from harming a large number of students. The main character is happy to hear this. Having already flown even closer, The ancestor asks him if he used this, hinting in his words at the use of evil power, which made the main character slightly scared, because according to their rules, this is prohibited. He already thinks that his ancestor will not let him go if he finds out that he used evil arts. He cannot excuse himself in any way, and does not know what to answer to his grandfather. He became even more scared because of this. The sick old man suddenly begins to laugh, telling him not to be nervous and considers his abilities interesting, adding that they can really help the level of development instantly skyrocket. Trying to calm the guy down, he says that he himself has practiced these abilities before, and there is nothing wrong with that. The main thing is that the owner of these abilities does not go to extremes and does not go too far. The main character calmed down after the words of the old man and cannot believe that he too used evil arts before, and tries to find out from him about this by looking at him with his surprised red eyes. The ancestor begins to give Meng Tian one of the white flowers, and says that this flower that sends bones will be a reward for the guy. He expects to hear something pleasant from his grandchildren about the main character in the future. After this dialogue, the grandfather returns to the demon tiger, which he has already captured with the help of his cunning, and is about to take him back to the dungeon. The tiger continues to call him an old liar, after which they disappear. The palace became calm, and while the main character is holding this flower in his hands, the wind begins to blow its petals in one direction. Other people noticing this begin to run up to Tian'an to discuss what happened. The next chapter begins, and already at the beginning we see the palace and Meng Tian'an, who is standing right in front of the important people of the Donghua Palace and a crowd of students about to tell something. Sitting on a chair, Liu Yanzi says that in the end, the ancient ancestor of the palace defeated the demon tiger and, looking thoughtful, waits for an answer from the main character. He begins to say that their ancestors are very wise and powerful, capable of changing the wind and clouds only with the click of their finger, and the tiger demon was very scared in front of him and was later captured. Fang Jin tells one of the elders that the ancestor's power has increased dramatically compared to last time. The white-beard grandfather says that the ancestor is incomprehensible and will always be beyond their reach. The mustachioed man is dissatisfied that his opportunity, which he had been waiting for 5 years, was destroyed by the brat, that is, the main character, after which he tells everyone that he has no doubts that the ancestor defeated the demon tiger. After these words, he gets up from his chair and points his finger at Meng Tian'an and asks him how he was able to save the guild head from the jaws of the tiger if he is at the stage of building the foundation. Red Eyes understands that this great elder is difficult to deal with, and remembering how Xuan Tianji and Qian Meier helped him, he hopes for more help from them. A kind system has come that knows what to do. After that, the main character, putting his hand on his heart trying to seem truthful, says that the sect master was in danger, and he hastily remembered all the moments of communication with Liu Yanzi, and then an inexplicable force began to emanate from him. The crowd of disciples are very surprised by this, after which they all start laughing, believing that this is the power of dual cultivation methods. They think that they know what the guild leader was doing with Meng Tian'an that night. The head of the guild turned red with shame after what the main character said, and calling this kid a brat, asks why he is talking about this in the presence of so many people. The elder does not believe the words of the protagonist and considers it obvious that he used evil skills, arguing that he feels a demonic aura at the crime scene. It is clear that the guy is tired of all this. Another person also believes that this is all evil. While supporting Fang Jin, he says that he also feels evil, and the sect leader is innocent of all this. With these words, he seemed to be able to distract the crowd. The great mustachioed elder, turning to Liu Yanzi, asks her what he can do with the main character, who is practicing evil arts, awaiting orders from this woman. This beauty begins to get up from her chair, just like everyone else, and is about to tell the crowd her opinion, warning in advance that it will be different from the opinion of most of these people. She, showing that she is serious, makes it clear to everyone that she considers the main character innocent of anything, and says that this guy deserves a reward for his worthy service in protecting the clan and should be rewarded, which makes the elders perplexed. This woman is told that since she is the head of the sect, it does not give her full right to do something that benefits her. One of the elders asks the other to calm down, and the experts in the crowd begin to think that Tian'an really used evil skills. The main character is silent for now, listening to all this. At this moment, a yellow-haired system flies up to him and says that she has not yet used any skills during these processes. Then he happily realizes that the sect leader is protecting him completely voluntarily. He begins to think that she is completely interested in him, and he likes it. The serious-minded protagonist begins to tell the great elder who attacked the woman to calm down and personally check his body for the presence of evil forces if he cannot take his word for it. The elder with a black mustache believes that he will now reveal the whole truth to this crowd and is going to start checking the guy's body, asking if he is ready. The main character confirms this and the process is about to begin. The man's fingers begin to glow and he puts them to the main character's forehead, going to see what tricks he can show in front of so many people. It's clear how at this moment the good system is going to do something. Xuantianji, being a good system, releases a bunch of good aura. While the body of its owner is being checked, this aura repels the elder and blinds him with its brightness, which makes him perplexed. The crowd seeing this does not understand how such strong righteousness can come from a demonic monk. Some believe that they have chosen the right path. Others believe that the remaining dirt in their heart will be cleansed. The mustachioed evil man falls to the ground from this aura, covering his eyes, and does not understand how such a pure aura of righteousness can exist in this world. The other elders, along with the head of the guild, became worried about him. After this, Meng Tianan believes that the time has come to check on Elder Fang Jin, accusing him of releasing the tiger demon into the wild. From these statements, the crowd is shocked. The lying elder says that it definitely wasn't him, and believes that the main character is trying to take advantage of his advantage by blaming him, and asks to show evidence that it was he who did it. The head of the guild turns to the guy with long hair, asking for evidence on this matter, and greatly frightening him that the student who accuses the elder without evidence will be expelled from this palace. The guy got very nervous and remembers that he wanted to take advantage of his inertia and attack this old man, but did not expect that he would restrain him. Now everyone will think that the boy is involved in this. Fortunately for the main character, Xuantianji approached him and forgive him not to panic, because in this regard she has a trick that will force this old trickster to reveal the truth. But she warned in advance that this old gentleman had a high level of cultivation, and she would have to give her maximum for the spell to work on him. But after that, she would fall into a sleep just like Qianyamei Error. After these words, she wastes no time rushing at the great elder and begins to use her spells on him. Placing her fingers on his head, the elder begins to feel something. The old stump does not understand where this spiritual power comes from, and the good system, at the moment when it uses a spell, the eyes begin to glow yellow, and this greatly surprises the main character. Suddenly, in front of everyone, the memories of this mustachioed man pop up. In them, you can see how a tiger demon visits him in the dungeon, who asks him the time after which he can get out to freedom. We are shown these two from the side, and there we can see exactly how the elder speaks to him and asks him to be more patient, because everything that is needed for this is ready, and asks him not to forget about the agreement. Standing right in front of the seal that keeps the villain in the dungeon, the evil man tells the tiger that he will free him and give him a dream, provided that the tiger helps him get rid of Liu Yanzi. He asks him not to worry, because he will do everything right. These two, satisfied, made a deal, and we see how the old man says that the seal has weakened and he will now release him. The elder realized that everyone sees his memories and fell into horror. The crowd, having watched enough of the memories of their elder, finally realizes everything, and they begin to discuss how bad a person he is. They saw how he entered into a contract with the tiger demon. The rest of the elders, together with the head of the guild, do not understand how he could do this. Because he worked with them for many years, they understand that all the monsters on the surface were precisely because of him. He justifies himself by saying that it was all a misunderstanding. Liu Yanzi orders Fan Jin and Fan Xin to be expelled from the Donghua Palace. The palace students grab them and take them away. The mustachioed one promises that she will regret it, and his son says that his father's affairs do not apply to him. Standing in full view of all the students, the head of the guild, together with the remaining elders and Meng Tianan, makes it clear to everyone that the truth has come to light and asks all the students to disperse, because there is nothing to do here. The main character mysteriously walks around the palace, realizing that this issue has already been finally resolved, but the bad thing is that both systems have fallen asleep. Thinking about this, he enjoys the sound of falling leaves. Starting to look at the falling leaves, it seems to him that everything has become much quieter because no one is around. The systems are sleeping, the villains have been expelled from the palace, and all the monsters that escaped from the dungeon have long been dealt with. He continues to look at the falling leaves because they calm him down, and he considers this a very cool moment and fully enjoys it, while no one from the palace is around. Jumping with happiness, he twice tells himself that there is no need to worry about the systems. He will definitely now be able to calmly practice immortality, because these two are in hibernation right now. The joyful protagonist hopes that these two will sleep for about 30 years, but suddenly he feels the touch of someone's hand on his head. It turned out that the evil system named Qianmei Error woke up and joyfully flew up to him to hug him. While she was hugging him, the main character realized that his peace was ruined and he would have to endure her again. Meng Tianan looks at her, not understanding how she woke up so early, and the evil system, smiling joyfully, begins to laugh and says that she woke up early because she only slept for 3 hours, and it could have been more. She learns that the good system has also fallen into hibernation. She understands perfectly well that this is due to the fact that she forced herself to use excessive force, and then, due to loss of energy, fell into a deep sleep. Unexpectedly, the good system woke up, and dissatisfied with the words of the evil system, looks at her condemningly. The pink-haired one, not expecting that she would wake up so quickly, is frightened by her appearance. These two NPCs begin to argue with each other again. The evil one is unhappy that the good one is constantly pestering her, and the yellow-haired one doesn't like what Chanya Mei wanted to do with the owner while she was away. While they were arguing, the main character decides to leave this place in search of peace and serenity. The girls notice this and are going to fly after him, because they cannot tear themselves away from him. Then they flew right behind him and try to attract his attention. At this moment, Meng Tianan ignores them, and the dissatisfied one continues to go his way, being immersed in thoughts in his head. A new chapter begins with the fact that we are shown the pavilion of the Donghua Palace. Apparently this is a very beautiful place, in which there are various furniture, and the sunlight falling here adds to the atmosphere of this place. The main character goes through a bunch of books that write about various skills. Chen Mei doesn't understand why he needs so many books if this guy has them. The good system asks not to throw away the books and condemns the evil witch for lying on the books. The boy says that because of his good merits, the head of the sect awarded him the opportunity to freely come to the Tibetan Dharma Pavilion, asking him to read more books and read good books. He walks around this pavement and realizes that it contains many secret books with exercises and cultivation experiences, but most of them are random books collected by the ancestor himself, and they are not useful. Continuing to walk around the pavilion, Meng Tianan tries to find a good book that will be useful for him. Among a bunch of useless ones, he understands that it will be very difficult to do this, but once he finds it, he will not regret it. While the guy is reading one of the books, he is abruptly interrupted by someone's voice coming from another part of the building. He hears someone calling him to his place and asking him to hurry up with this. Apparently there is something urgent there. We see one of the thick books in close-up. In the background, the main character is conducting a dialogue with two systems. He asks them if they have found a good book, and they say that they see something behind this thick book, asking him to look because he himself has not can touch. Moving away the thick, heavy book, the red-eyed detective notices some kind of pendant behind it and is very surprised by this. Carefully taking it in his hands, he does not understand who this item belongs to. Shentianji recognized this pendant as a first-class platinum magic weapon of the 3rd, 5th, and 7th levels of the second move, and 3 Jue Meng Tian An. Hearing such a long name, begins to think that this item is powerful. The good system says that magic weapons are divided into 6 levels. Each level is divided into levels from the 1st to the 9th, and each grade is divided into 3 more grades. The evil system with the main character is shocked by the knowledge of the yellow-haired one. The main character, realizing that this explanation would drag on for a long time, interrupts the yellow-haired girl and immediately asks about the functions of this magic pendant. After this question, Xuan Tianji thought about it. She, understanding what he wants, says that there are no special functions. The pendant only blocks the demonic aura of the one who wears it. The main character understands that this thing is perfect for him. The evil system is very happy about this find and says that the owner will now be able to use its abilities, and he has nothing to worry about. The main character completely agrees with her, and the good system looks unhappy because of this. Having started to look at the pendant, he does not understand why such things are in the pavilion of the Donghua Palace, because this item is usually used by demonic people to merge with the righteous. He thinks that someone from the path of the devil made his way through the palace. Turning this pendant over, the main character is surprised to find the old master's face on it, and is at a loss as to why it is there. Events move to the street where Meng Tianan is thinking about this pendant. He remembered the words of the ancestor of this palace, in which he says that he had practiced evil arts before. Apparently he used this item to hide it. We see how Sigma walks around the palace, birds fly in the sky, and he continues to reflect on this pendant, believing that that old stump will no longer need it, and it is better for him to leave this item with him. He turns to the yellow-haired one, saying that she said that her abilities are connected with his cultivation, and then when he reaches the stage of Dan formation, they will select several techniques for him that will cause problems. The girls say that the levels of pill formation are divided into 3 levels, and in order for the owner to reach a high level, he will need rare heavenly materials and earthly treasures as additives. The handsome guy realizes that for his breakthrough, he must collect the above-mentioned materials and understands that this will all be difficult. Walking around the palace, he tries to understand how he can do this. While he was walking around the palace and thinking about this, a huge crane lands in front of him. The guy is very surprised when he sees it and almost falls to the ground from the flapping of the huge wings of this creature. Looking at the huge crane, he tries to figure out who it is and accidentally mistakes it for one of the monsters and seems to be about to fight this huge white creature. The crane, with its large size, attracted the attention of the students of this palace, as well as the head of the guild. They immediately recognized that it was Don Giral, or Lord Crane, and did not understand where it came from. The giant asks to report them one by one, and says that Tian Guanzhou has discovered the secret kingdom of the Immortals here, and is here to notify qualified monks at the Foundation construction stage about participating in the test. The bird gives the main character a certain scroll, which is a pass. The address of the secret kingdom is written on it. Everyone is glad that the guy was qualified and that he can present the Donghua Palace. After this, the huge white crane flies away, saying that he needs to inform other sects about everything. Everyone looks at this amazing bird, because it's not every day that you see something like this. Qianmeier immediately makes it clear to Meng Tianan that there are irreplaceable treasures in the heavenly realm, which are supposedly enough to make a high-quality elixir. The guy then understands that he is obliged to take part. While the main character is looking at this pass, the good system, looking at him, understands that a certain Wang Gu is immortal and invites the guy not to participate in this test, which makes him and the evil system bewildered. In the next chapter, we see how Meng Tianan and Qianmeier are dissatisfied with breaking Xuan Tianji and ask her in unison why the guy shouldn't take part in these competitions. We see this scene from the outside, where the main character with the evil system sits and listens to the words of the good system, which says that this is very dangerous. The guy with the pink hair still looks unhappy. A good system first asks the main character to practice enough, after which he can go to competitions, offering his techniques that will help him improve. The evil system understands that the yellow-haired one is connected with the secret kingdom, and she denies this, saying that she does not know the immortal Wang Gu and other details. The pink-haired one says that no one just mentioned the word Wang Gu immortal. The two girls start arguing again. This really irritates the guy. While the argument is going on, one of the systems tells Sigma that this recently discovered secret kingdom is quite rich, and the treasures of heaven and earth have not yet been plundered. We see how night has already fallen on the street, and the main character, who is tired of their arguments, tells the systems to quickly go to bed, and it would be best to continue this conversation tomorrow with a fresh mind. The next morning, we see someone starting to call the main character. Apparently, he is still sleeping and does not hear it. So the person who is calling him decides to knock right on the door. It turns out to be Liu Yanzi. He doesn't understand why she came to him so early, and she hurries him, saying that it's time to leave. The sleepy and disheveled Meng Tianan didn't expect this. All the students of the Donghua Palace accompany the main character on this journey and wish him victory in the test. He listens to them, and the head of the guild is very pleased with this boy. This palace hasn't had a student qualified to take part in the trial for decades. Some didn't expect that there would be people like this among their peers and are very proud of it. In this case, Meng Tianan decides to thank everyone for their support and promises to win these tests. The girls like the main character, and the guys ask him to get dressed quickly because they are in charge of his powerful abs. Events move to the skies, where a guy and the head of the guild are flying on something similar to a carpet airplane. The guy doesn't like the fact that they have to leave in a hurry, and the woman explains the reason why they have to hurry. Liu Yanzi does not understand why the guy stopped emitting a demonic aura, but he confidently shows her the pendant found in the pavilion and explained that it helps him block the demonic aura. She is very happy about this, because this way she will not have to use her skills to cover for him. The guy was apparently very pleased with her words, and he felt relieved. Looking at the lady, he began to feel some mixed feelings, similar to love. He considers this woman a very pleasant person, and cannot take his eyes off her. Meng Tianan remembers that he promised himself not to be a womanizer in this life, and how a true Sigma should concentrate on his practice rather than pay attention to various women. While these two were silently flying on this device, it apparently ran out of energy, from which it began to roll over, and the main character was the first to fall out of it, at first not understanding anything. Later he got scared. A second later they both begin to fall. The guy does not understand what is happening, and the woman says that this purple lotus throne was lent to the ancestor last time, and apparently he ruined it. A few moments later we see the two land with a crash on the ground, and luckily Liu Yanzi caught the main character mid-flight, picking him up like a baby and giving him a soft landing. Meanwhile, a terrace with a lotus also lands near them, but apparently its landing was not so soft, and from the fall it was torn into two parts. they understand that it will not fly further and they will have to walk. The head of the guild indicates the direction in which they need to move. They are about to start their journey on foot when they hear someone's voice right behind them. This turns out to be the same demon wolf who previously attacked the palace. She doesn't understand what kind of bastard is capable of throwing objects from such a great height, and at the same time coughs from all this dust and notices our heroes. They turn around and notice Xuanying, and they don't even seem surprised by this and just look at her without saying a single word. Apparently, they think that they will now have to fight her, and they will be late for the test. In the next chapter, we see the scene of how the wolf demon was able to escape from underground. This happened on the same day when the seal holding her and other monsters in captivity was broken. She tries to leave the palace without being noticed, and hiding behind the wall hears ordinary students talking about the presence of the sect leader and elders, and understands that she needs to be even more careful. Then she goes out into the street, and having climbed onto the roof of one of the houses, looks at the joyful students running towards Mengtianan. Along the way, they discuss how the main character killed a giant monster in one movement. After all this, Xuanying was able to escape from the palace undetected. She arrived in the very forest where our heroes fell and wandered around for several days, completely alone. Later, she notices how the vehicle of Meng Tianan and Liu Yanzi falls on her and breaks right next to her, from which she flew several meters back, shaking up the dust. She already noticed our heroes. Next, we return to the main character with the head of the guild. They have already reached the destination where they will be tested, and apparently they found a new transport for themselves, with the help of which they got there quickly. It turned out that they were brought here by Xuanying riding on herself and turning into a huge white wolf. They say that they did not expect the Julang clan to act so quickly, and think that it is because of their pure bloodline. While the wolf demon does not understand how they even found her even after she ran far into the forest, the heroes already see the entrance to the secret kingdom of testing a flaming bone and a huge flying crane. Xuanying returns to his human form. They all enter the secret kingdom and look at the large crowd of people who came here to take the test. The main character is surprised by this, and the wolf demon wants to leave quickly. The woman explains to the guy that only a few people will take part in this test, and the rest of the people came here only as accompanying people, just like her. And then he understood everything. And then their attention is attracted by someone's voice, which recognizes the sect master. Calling him a rare guest, they turn around dissatisfied and immediately recognize who this person is. His name is Qing Wuxian, and he is the leader of the Green Snake sect. He did not expect to see a person from Donghua Palace at the test this year, calling it a misfortune for these guys, and his chain dogs are laughing at it. The attention of the heroes is attracted by another voice, which is already coming from other people. They look unhappy because of all this. The voice says that luck depends on misfortune, and being prepared for a test is a blessing. This is said by a white-haired grandfather named Qi Daozhen. He is the leader of the Tianlin sect, and on the right is his student named Qi Ruoxing, who believes that Meng Tianan overestimates his abilities. His teacher says that the palace will lose this proud student. People from the crowd begin to talk nonsense. Some believe that the Donghua Palace came here just to look. In general, each palace has its own opinion about the main character and the intentions of the Donghua Palace. Someone believes that the main character will die before the process begins. Even the wolf demon cannot bear these words because they irritate her. And Mrs. Liu Yanzi asks the guy not to pay attention to the words of these losers. The crowd laughs at the representatives of Donghua Palace. The main character tries not to pay attention to them, but behind the crowd there are colorful girls who, for some reason, distracted the guy. Red-eyed, looking at the girls, recognizes in one of them someone he knows. Various memories of how he held hands with this girl and was glad to be next to her flooded into him. He remembers how, under a beautiful sunset, he tried to propose marriage to her, after which she apparently refused, and then the weather suddenly deteriorated. The sad protagonist lay down on the grass. After these shots, he remembers who she is. These are actually women killed by the previous owner of Meng Tianan, and the girl in whom he recognized someone is called Qin Siran, and she is a saint of the Huantian sect. Most likely there will be something between these two. In the next chapter, we understand that this is the same woman who lied to the main character in a past life. He considers her cruel and believes that she deserves death. Apparently, he really wants to take revenge on her. He continues to insult her in his head, considering her face to be hateful and hypocritical. He says that he wants revenge and wants her to feel the same pain that he felt at that time. But realizing that she is at the stage of producing the elixir, and at the moment he is no match for her, but he remembered that he can choose an evil system and use its abilities. The good system understands that this is not good. However, the guy pushes the pink-haired one away, believing that a few curses at her will be enough and there is no need to go too far to take revenge. But the evil system believes that he should take revenge on her. Meng Tianan begins to leave this place out of harm's way. At this time, Chen Mei continues to say that he must take revenge on her like a real gentleman. The good system is still silent and does not know what to do. Qin Siran is distracted from a conversation with her friends and, looking at the guy, recognizes Meng Tianan in him, and apparently she remembered what she had brought him to before and simply watches him leave. After a couple of moments, the leader of the test proclaimed that the time has come and the test will begin very soon. He asks representatives of all sects participating here to approach the entrance. All participants gather right in a circle that comes from a huge bright crystal. Apparently right now they are all teleported to the arena, where they can conduct their mortal battles. Of course, the red-eyed main character is also about to go on this hike with the rest of the participants. At this moment, he turns his gaze back, looking at everyone present. Xuantianji suddenly begins to panic, saying that something is about to start and still doesn't understand what can be done. She scares the owner with her behavior, and he tries to find out if everything is okay. The guy tries to find out from Chen Mei what happened to the yellow-haired woman. She says that she just repeated those same 2 sentences, saying that the main character most likely has something wrong with his brain. The disappointed protagonist understands that since Xuantianji is now passed out, she will not be able to help him in the upcoming test, and is very worried about this because anything can await him. Behind him stands a beautiful blue-haired girl who stares at Meng Tianan and feels as if she is going to tear this guy into small pieces. It turns out that her name is Mo Yinying, and she is a disciple of the Huantian sect. She is distracted by that same hypocritical girl and asks for one favor. The blue-haired one says that she will definitely fulfill her request, and Qin Siran considers her very reliable. She says that there is nothing special about this, and asks her student to pay attention to the pitiful monk from Donghua Palace, that is, Meng Tianan, saying that he stared at her and made her feel unhappy. Mo Yingying understood what her mistress wanted from her, and asked her to be sure that Meng Tianan would not leave the secret kingdom alive, because this fool was sure that she could deal with the main character. After a couple of moments, the presenter informs everyone that the list of participants has been counted and everyone is assembled. The secret kingdom has already been opened, and everyone is going to be sent straight there. Judging by the look of the warriors, they are serious. Mrs. Liu warns her student, saying that the secret place is very dangerous and unpredictable, and if something unexpected happens, he will need to abandon the test in time to save his life. The main character, having listened to his head, already goes to this very place and says goodbye to this woman with a hand gesture, at the same time letting her know that he understood everything she said. Further events are transferred to a secret kingdom. In the beginning, there is a calm atmosphere, there are beautiful views, dense green forests, a bunch of waterfalls, and much more. After a couple of moments, we see all the participants, including Meng Tianan. They are all lying on the green grass and are about to come to their senses. Next to them are some chests with various things. The participants slowly but surely begin to come to their senses, and at the very beginning they do not understand where they are, as if they got up from a hangover and are looking at everything around them trying to study the area. Having come to their senses, these people notice how some animal begins to approach them. He approaches them slowly and awkwardly, talking about something incomprehensible, and apparently he needs something from them. It turned out that this is the alien guardian beast Khan. He forgives everyone to turn their attention to him, and introduces himself as the manager of the secret kingdom, and says that detailed information will be provided further. Suddenly he surprises everyone by lifting a pot with a flower above him, and with the help of some magical powers, this bud begins to open, causing the flower to straighten and become much more beautiful. To the surprise of everyone, this damn flower begins to talk and attracts the attention of the participants. He invites everyone to take part in his trial version and introduces himself by saying that he is the immortal Wang Gu who created this kingdom. This stupid flower wishes everyone good morning. Considering that it is night in the secret kingdom, realizing that he said something stupid, he takes back his words, Meng Tian. Anne understands that this guy is even more unreliable than their ancient ancestor. Plant says that his test consists of 3 levels, and those who can pass can receive the legendary 9th level, and this is a very powerful skill. After training, they will be able to form the best golden elixir that they really need. He pleases everyone with the words that the first level is very simple. He placed rare animals around and treasures they must go and pick up. Points are awarded depending on the rarity. The participants think it's cool. The stupid plant says that that's all, and after they collect various heavenly materials and earthly treasures, he can count the points and begin the real test, after which his bud closed and he left these participants. In the next chapter, we see Qianmeier's head wearing a cap. She says that her travel agency is opening with big rewards, free travel, and secret places. Later, we see the whole picture. The evil system has completely changed its clothes and is holding the good system on its back, which has woken up and, still in fear, asks it to stop creating problems. The main character simply silently watches this circus. He sits with a tired face watching these two girls, calling them crazy. From the face of this Sigma, you can see how he can't get used to it. The girls of the system, as always, begin to argue among themselves, and the main character no longer pays much attention to them and thinks about the fact that Xuan Tianji told him that she could not move, because there must be some reason. While the main character sits and tolerates these two girls, Mo Yingying has quietly sat behind him, watching his actions and not understanding why he is so calm, because everyone is busy collecting resources. She took out the sword, still at a loss as to why he is so motionless, and believes that he knows that she is hunting for him. She decides to continue to sit in the shadows and wait for further action from the main character. Meanwhile, all the other joyful participants are collecting resources and catching rare, seemingly defenseless animals. They believe that in this secret world, everything is very simple and have already relaxed. We return to the main character, who is still in his thoughts sitting motionless on the grass. His attention is attracted by Xuanying and tries to tell him something, from which the guy is distracted. The guy turns to this she-wolf and asks her what she wants from him. She in turn points her finger at something and wants him to look at this object. It turns out that she was just hungry and wanted to eat an unremarkable plant. Asking Meng Tianan's permission, he gave her his permission, which made her happy. She greedily rushes to this plant and begins to eat it with great appetite, while the main character only watches. But suddenly she begins to feel sick from this plant and tries to spit it out. The main character is horrified to discover how the wolf demon lies on the ground unconscious. Thick white foam begins to emanate from her mouth, and the main character begins to worry about her health. Suddenly, the attention of the red-eyed one is attracted by the screams of the participants. If before this they were ordinary joyful screams and everything was calm, now they are screaming in horror and asking for help from someone. Meng Tian sees how all these people are suffering. The guy who tried to pick the plant is now tied up by this very plant, and the rare animal that seemed harmless turns out to be a deer on steroids and mercilessly beats the guy who tried to catch it. The main character realizes that this place is very evil, and fortunately he restrained himself from collecting resources, and at that moment he notices a cloud of black smoke that is approaching him. He looks into it in bewilderment. Deciding to turn around, the main character notices that this cloud of smoke is coming from a large monster that doesn't even have an eye or a face, but only has a huge red hole, and this really scares him. He realized that this black aura is at the stage of forming the elixir, but does not understand why it is participating in the test, where the participants are at the level of building the foundation. Meng Tian, holding his breath because of this aura that got too close, he does not understand where the systems went when they were needed so much, and cannot believe the words of Xuan Tianji where she said not to move and hold back. This black aura passed by the main character without even touching him. He continues to stand and not move, because he is afraid that she will now turn around and do something bad to him. Noticing how a strange aura passed by him without doing anything, he exhales loudly with relief, which apparently attracts the attention of this black mass. It turned around sharply and scared him. But it turns out that the blue-haired assassin decided to take advantage of the moment and try to kill the main character with her sword. The guy doesn't even know about her presence, and they both look at the black aura feeling fear. Suddenly, this aura rushes towards Meng Tianan. Noticing this, he froze in place like last time, and she passed through him without even intending to touch him. Apparently, she flew after Mo Yingying. Turning around, he notices how the black mass still chased the blue-haired girl, and she tried to run away in fear, after which the guy still realized that this thing saved his life right now. In bewilderment, he continues to look after this thing, and still does not understand what it was, but thanks it for saving him. Meanwhile, Qianmei runs up to him and says that they have woken up. The main character is furious that these systems did not come to him on time. He says that if a bad person had approached him at that moment, everything could have ended differently, and the evil system asks him to look at something. Approaching her, he suddenly calms down and sees Xuan Tianji, who is lying unconscious with a lot of foam at the mouth. Just like Xuan Ying, he still cannot understand what all this means, because it looks very strange. In the next chapter, we see how Xuan Ying comes to her senses holding that same plant in her hands and noticing it in her hands, as if nothing had happened to her. She was up to something. She sits joyfully and again eats a piece of this plant with great appetite, as if she forgot what happened to her before, and again faints, foaming at the mouth. Apparently mistakes do not teach her anything. You can see how uncomfortable she is again, and foam continues to flow from her mouth. She is somehow trying to stay conscious, but it is very difficult for her. Seeing this scene, the evil system begins to laugh loudly, saying that this dog is very funny, and the main character will forgive Chanya Mei to stop fooling around because the serious guy is tired of all this. At this time, Xuan Tianji begins to come to his senses. This is observed by Meng Tan An with the evil system. He says that the yellow-haired woman cannot help herself because she constantly loses consciousness at the mention of the immortal Wang Gu. The boy hit the good system right on the head, causing it to rush back and forth and talk some complete nonsense, while the evil system, watching this, simply cannot hold back its tears of laughter. The yellow-haired girl continues to talk some kind of nonsense, and at this time the main character looks at the wolf demon and understands that first he needs to cure her. The evil system asks him not to be impatient and listen to the good system for a while. Suddenly, the main character hears the screams of some of the participants behind him. He turns around and sees some kind of fierce battle going on there. We are shown a warrior with a katana who is fighting with a huge flower, in whose mouth there is a man. Apparently, he is trying to help that guy so that he does not become his lunch. The carnivorous yellow flower, after swallowing one weakling and gaining strength, immediately rushes at the serious guy with a katana, and he manages to dodge his mouth, causing the plant to crash into the ground. Long-haired, after he dodged the mouth of this monster, sharply raises his katana above its stem and with one precise blow cuts off the beast, thereby simply killing him and showing how cool he is. This smug guy believes that he has already single-handedly conquered this secret kingdom, and as a reward for victory, a box with a certain seed opens in front of him, for which he can be given a lot of points. But just as this loser is about to take this seed, it is suddenly taken from him by the main character riding on a big white wolf, laughing at this fool until the long-haired one understands what is happening. Apparently, Meng Tianan has a magic bag that apparently sucks all the resources around directly into itself while he runs around the secret kingdom at high speed riding on a white wolf. They continue to gallop around this area. The main character, seeing how resources fly into his bag and how it is rapidly filling, looks very pleased, thinking that he will score the most points. Suddenly, someone's lifeless body flies into this genius's bag, causing the guy to fall into shock and look at it, not understanding what is happening and how she could fly there. It turned out that it was Mo Yingying, the main character. Taking it in his hands, thought that it was a treasure, and the evil system says that it came out of the mouth of a big dark-haired guy. The main character looks dissatisfied. Events are transferred to Wang Gu with the animal. The animal has already begun to accept resources at the exchange office, and they ask the main character not to use other people to exchange for points, because this is against their rules. The stupid kid says that he thought that it was some kind of magical weapon in the form of a person, but everything is fine, because he has a bag full of other resources. Seeing this bag, the other participants do not understand how the guy collected so many things. The white animal, seeing that Meng Tianan has a full bag of resources, understands that there is simply no point in checking it, since it is already clear that there will be 1,000 points, and at that moment he wakes up the immortal Wang Gu by knocking on the pot. The flower opened and was surprised that someone managed to score 1,000 points, immediately realizing that this someone was using magic, after which he is informed that the content of the first level is fake, and now he will show the real goal of this level. The beaten and exhausted participants are very dissatisfied with the actions of the stupid flower, not understanding what kind of nonsense he is doing, and demand that he stop doing this disgrace. But the flower doesn't care about them. Suddenly, an earthquake begins under the participants' feet. These guys do not understand what is about to happen, and are already trying to make their own guesses on this topic, starting to be a little afraid. Suddenly, a huge monster bursts out of the ground. We are given to understand that this is a demonic creature that wanders the earth during the formation of the pills. All participants, seeing it, try to run away in horror. The red plant says that Chang Chang is a small guy, and anyone who can escape from his mouth will be able to move to the second level. He believes that this will be very easy to do. But the participants do not agree with him at all. In the next chapter, Qin Saran contacts Mo Yinyan, thinking that she forgot about her request to kill the main character, and pretends that she is disappointed in the blue-haired girl. Later, this fool adds that she had too high an opinion of her student. The blue-haired one says that in no case is she going to let her mistress down, and will definitely fulfill her request. After this dialogue with her leader, the girl notices a huge fish approaching her, and understands that now will be a bad time for her, because the huge fish looks hungry. The devil has already approached Mo Yinyan and, sticking out his long tongue, grabbed her from head to toe so that she cannot move, and she, being helpless, is pulled into the mouth of this beast without the opportunity to do anything. Next, we see how this fish apparently has not eaten enough, and seeing even more participants making their way towards them, they, having noticed the hungry devil, are very frightened and try to run away as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Meng Tian-an, riding a large white wolf, runs nearby on the other side of the river and sees this terrible picture of how the devil is chasing the other test participants and is already thinking about what he can do. Continuing to watch this picture together with the demon wolf, the main character is glad that the huge devil ran very quickly, because of this he did not notice him and left him alone for a while. He is distracted by the evil system, which says that Xuan Tianji was very scared, and because of this she switched off again, and he asks about ways to defeat this fish, hoping that he will be given an ability called 100% draw with his opponent. Qianmeier says that this kind of ability will absorb all her energy, and Xuan Tianji continues to lie unconscious. The main character, having realized that last time she slept for only 3 hours, is already thinking that she can get this ability again. Then he changed his mind, realizing that Qianmeier would be much more useful in this test than the other system girl, and he decides to just wait for the moment when Xuan Tianji gets better. We are again shown a tough guy who was able to defeat a huge carnivorous plant. He stands on the top of a hill watching, as the big devil tries to catch the participants with a huge glove. Looking at the fish, he understands that his life may be in danger when meeting it, because he is only at an advanced stage of creating the foundation, and for him, as a disciple of the Tianlan sect, it would be a shame to die right at the first level. He understands that this demon fish's appetite is limited, and as long as the fish is full, he should be safe. After these words, he is going to take some measures against this fish. Suddenly, he shouts to all the participants to gather and not panic or be afraid. They pay attention to this guy, and apparently understand that he is trying to unite them all into one whole. He motivates them by calling them all the chosen ones who came for this test and present the names of their sects. Their elders have high hopes for them, and they will be ashamed if they lose in the first test. The participants found out that this is Chi Ruoxing, and listened to him. They are trying to convey to him that they were told that in order to move to the next level, they must survive. Apparently they are afraid to fight with this fish. He says that the Immortal deceived them, but they still believe him. He begins to put forward his opinion and says that in order to pass this level, they must kill this monster fish, from which all the participants are shocked. It dawned on them that this test is not for one person, but for all of them as a whole. And in order to pass it, they must work as a team, and, having already united as one, these people are going to attack the demon fish. They encourage each other, saying that when they are united into one whole, even demon monsters are not afraid of them, and in terrible rage they turn towards the huge fish. They jump down on the demon fish, intending to kill it, and each taking out their weapons, they fly straight at it. The demon fish, looking up right at them, has already pretended to be very scared of this. Meng Tian-an is very happy seeing this picture in front of him, and also begins to think that only if they go after this fish together, they can defeat it and move on to the next level of the test. But suddenly the devilfish simply opened its huge mouth right under these people. They suddenly start screaming and no longer know what to do, because everything did not go according to their plan. It is clear from the face of the main character that he himself did not expect such a turn of events, and understands that an attack on this fish is simply exposing himself to direct death and should not be done under any circumstances. While he was watching this from a safe distance, Chi Ruoxing approaches him and recognizes the main character as a disciple of Donghua Palace. Holding his sharp sword in his hands, he is apparently about to start the battle. Meng Tian-an slowly turns to him and confirms his identity. Wondering what this loser with a sword wants from him, the guy from the Tianlan sect looks very serious. He says that he can still ignore the fact that the main character used to steal trophies from him, but he considers it unfair that he did not join the fight with the demon fish, leaving the rest of the students to die. The smart main character tries to explain to this loser that he is simply not going to die this way, and asks not to judge him because of this, looking at him with a strange look. Then the self-confident fool begins to call our Sigma to battle, calling him a selfish scoundrel and saying that he is not worthy of being a righteous monk. Today, he is supposedly going to rid the world of another scourge. A serious-minded villain begins to read some spells and turn to some mommy. Apparently, this will give him a large amount of strength, with the help of which he will try to defeat Meng Tian-an. He continues to read his spell. He also raised his blade. Some blue energy begins to emanate from his body, and he is about to attack the main character. But unexpectedly for him, Meng Tian-an says that he needs to quickly escape from this place, and is already quickly moving away from Chi Ruoxing. This does not suit him, and he is going to go after him. You can see how he is trying to catch up with our Sigma, asking him to turn to face him and fight in a fair fight one-on-one. The main character says that the villain annoys him, and he doesn't want to fight with him. He also still needs to pass the test. This guy with a katana clearly didn't like Meng Tianan's words, and he suddenly rushes at him with his weapon without further ado. But the main character, having an amazing reaction, manages to dodge in time and avoid injury. The blue-haired guy offers the red-eyed guy a choice. Either he is eaten by a big fish, or he will be blown away by his blade, and you need to choose one thing. The main character, of course, is not satisfied with such conditions. The red-eyed man quickly makes an angry face, looks straight into the eyes of this loser, and, insulting him, says that he will not choose anyone, and it will be pointless to ask him such questions. But suddenly this rat with a katana tries to deliver his strong blow directly to Meng Tianan's neck, but unexpectedly for him, a powerful purple force field is formed around the main character's body, which completely absorbs the blow. Having already noticed this, the villain becomes unhappy with the fact that he cannot easily cope with the main character, and after his blow, the force field pushes this fool away from the dongua student. Having flown back, he does not understand what happened right now, and does not understand why the guy is so strong. Because nothing like that was said about him in rumors, he is at a loss as to how, in his opinion, the weak Donghua Palace produces such strong disciples. The main character, using the abilities of Qian Mei'er, is untouchable for that loser and advises him not to look down on others, since he is a disciple of a famous sect. Chiruok-sing finds it strange that the protagonist's movements are similar to magic, but he does not emit any magical aura at the same time. He continues to look at Sigma and tries to figure out how to resist him. He begins to recharge with energy again, and is not going to give up so easily. He understands that with these powers, our Giga Chad can ignore restrictions and rob treasures on the first level. And using his remaining strength, he tries to attack him again. This loser again turns to his mommy while he reads strange spells. This time he hopes for his victory. But that was not the case because our Sigma is not just an ordinary guy. Suddenly this loser is interrupted by a purple big fist punching him right in the face, causing him to just fly away and get a big gash on his face and suffer the pain because he can't do anything. The main character apparently did not understand what just happened, but later sarcastically asks the villain for forgiveness and begins to laugh at him. Apparently this is all the work of Qian Mei'er. The merciless system continues to beat the poor disciple of the Tianlan sect, and despite the fact that he already looks helplessly defeated, the fists still continue to strike him all over his body. While the villain is suffering all these blows, he still cannot understand why the main character doesn't even cast any spells or use rune seals. He just stands still. And that's all. The blows have not stopped yet, as have this guy's thoughts about Meng Tianan. He is already beginning to consider this trick completely diabolical. But at the same time, he says that he does not feel any evil from him at all. He, already beaten, understands that he, being the main disciple of his sect, will lose right here and now to an ordinary guy from Donghua Palace. Then his majestic face will be desecrated, and he will not be able to escape this shame for a long time. This loser, kneeling right in front of the main character, begins to pitifully ask for forgiveness for all his bad words and asks to save his life, saying that he is very sorry and he will not do this again. The kind Meng Tianan decides to spare this guy, after which he says that it would be better if he surrendered earlier and that they shouldn't fight at all. Since they are all brothers in cultivation, the blue-haired man continues to repent. The beaten guy tells the main character about his evil plan. Initially, he wanted the students to fight the big fish, and then he would take action while the two were exhausted, so he could gain fame and eliminate the weak sects. Blue-haired was amazed by Meng Tianan's powers, and he invites him to go through this test together, and the main character jokes saying that this guy wants to hug him by the thigh. Dissatisfied, Chiruok-sing thinks that just as there is no place for tigers on one mountain, glory can only belong to the Tanlan sect. He is going to raise his level, apparently take some measures against the main character. Immediately, Meng Tianan extends his helping hand, when suddenly their peace is interrupted by a huge demon fish that came so close that it covered the two with its shadow and was about to eat them. They notice this creature a little late and don't know what to do, because even the crowd of students fell before they really had time to start fighting with this enemy. This fish, opening its mouth, is about to grab one of them with its huge glove. At this moment, Meng Tianan pushes away his new friend, trying to save Chiruok-sing, but he himself gets caught by this fish. Unfortunately, it turned out that the demon fish decided to grab the main character and begins to drag him into its mouth, from which the main character does not yet know what to do, and the blue-haired one only looks at it in fear. The fish, with the help of its huge glove, was able to throw the main character into its mouth, and the disciple of the Tianlan sect, falling to the ground, looks at this fish, waiting for its turn, thinking that it will now eat him too. At the beginning of the next chapter, we again see a scene where the demon fish, with its mouth wide open, is about to eat these two, and they just stand there and don't yet know what to do, thinking that they are about to die. In a hurry, the main character turns to Qianmei and asks her to come up with something as soon as possible, because he himself is not able to cope with this problem at the moment. But turning around, he notices that Xuan Tianji has come to her senses and asks if she is okay. But she only tells him that he let this fish eat him, because this is the way to pass this level. And then it dawned on Meng Tian'an, he remembered the words of the red talking flower, which said that the participants must escape from the mouth of a huge beast. Now he understood what the yellow-haired woman meant. After the main character realizes what he needs to do, he looks at Qi Ruoxin and is going to take some measures, because he must win this test and prove to everyone what he is really capable of. He especially emotionlessly raises his hand and pushes this guy aside so that the fish grabs him. On this note, Qi Ruoxin's memories are interrupted, and we see how he was returned to the normal world along with other losers. The crowd, looking at the eliminated participants, cannot believe their eyes because they see among them the blue-haired one from the famous Tianlan sect. They think that the secret kingdom is too complicated a place and do not understand what happened there. He remembers the main character again and thinks that the red-eyed one sacrificed his life to save him. Despite past grievances, he understands that there are still good people in this world who can be trusted. Events are transferred to the main character. He stands with the systems and says that they should have conveyed such information to him earlier. Fortunately, he managed to push that guy away. He also thinks Xuan Tianji is very strange, because she has known this place for a very long time. Meng Tian'an, together with Qianmei crossed their arms and are waiting for an explanation from the good system before it shuts down again. They are very unhappy that it has kept this a secret for such a long time. The yellow-haired one doesn't like this, but she understands that sooner or later she will have to tell about everything. You can see in her eyes how she is again falling very asleep. Having already closed her eyes and trying to resist the strong desire to sleep, she says that in fact she was once an agent of the Wang system, the creator of a secret kingdom together with the immortal Wang Gu. And after these words, she passed out.